Welcome back, everybody. And as promised, I got my good buddy Shawn Johnson here. Shawn, thanks so much for joining the NARPM podcast, buddy.
Hey man, I am honored to be here. Thanks for having me, Pete.
So we go back a long way, and you have a similar but even more experienced journey than I did when I built Empire and sold Empire. So can you kind of tell the listeners, a brief overview of your journey, how you started your PM firm, and then the Home Vault merger, and then the exit? I think people would be real interested to hear how you got there and where you started from.
Well, I don't know that it's more experience than yours, Pete, but it is a similar but different path. So I started a management company in Little O Farmington, New Mexico. We became the big player pretty quick. It grew pretty quick, and we decided let's branch out and have a second branch in Flagstaff, Arizona, which was about 4.5 hours away, which is a completely different beast to manage that far away. But it grew, and it was highly profitable. And then we really focused, my wife and I really focused on how do we make this business the best asset that it can be and not have to rely upon us to be there every minute of every day. And it got to a point where my staff was like, why are you even here? Like it runs better when you're gone. So, and I
Yeah.
think I took it as a compliment, you know what I mean? So, yeah, thank you for letting us know. Okay, cool, that's great. So months go by and we're like, you know what, we can't just do this. There's bigger, right? There's more purpose in all of this. So we decided with amongst some other NARPM members to do a national merger. We merged
So let's pause there before that, real quick.
yeah.
What did you do before property management?
I was a helicopter pilot and flying professionally as a pilot came with mountains of school loans, student loan debt. We started our we bought our first business while I was a pilot, which was a full service car wash, and had a baby at the same time. So I don't know what it is about us and having babies at the same time we start businesses, but when we started a property management business, we had our second baby. And
And what,
if
what
you want
made you
to,
go into property management from piloting and car wash? Because that's like
yeah.
a left
So
turn. Normally I hear, well, I bought so many properties and I couldn't, or I was doing real estate and everybody keep asking me to. So this is a little bit of a different path. So
yeah,
it's really interesting to me. So tell me a little bit about that. So you buy a car wash. So you want to be a business owner,
yep.
get the
Yeah, we
car
were
wash.
entrepreneurial, very entrepreneurial, and saw uh, the the freedom that you get from that. But when I was flying helicopters, I had the best schedule. I worked the 7 on, and then I was off for 7, and then I'd go back for 7 nights, and then I was off for 7 again, and it provided a lot of time. Even when I was working, they call EMS earn money sleeping, not emergency medical services. So you could earn money while you sleep. Obviously you're still trading time for money, but the schedule was really good. So we ran that car wash while I was still working. We had the benefits and all that stuff. And Kristen, my wife, was running it full time. Like that was the job, right? And why we got into property management really was because I had bought a house when I was 20 and sold it when I was 22, and it had this big pop of money, and I was like, wow, this is real estate's awesome. And obviously that's not how it always works out, right? That's kind of a rare thing, but
I got a
that's
different
what
story,
happened.
but yeah.
Yeah. And so I set this goal. I remember setting this goal. I was like, I want to own 3 rental properties by the time I'm 27. And 27 rolls up, and it was the most depressing birthday of my life
Birthday.
because I did not achieve owning 3 rental properties. I'd sold that piece of property way beyond or way before that, and I didn't achieve that. But we're like, let's be business owners, and that was great. But that's where we got our master's degree, was in that car wash. Is 54 W-2s were
Whoa.
sent out the first year. I mean, high turnover. These are the same employees that you get from, the local Taco Bell, if you will. And they just really turn. They turn fast. So we tasted real estate, and we were moving back to where I grew up because we were, like I said, we started to have kids. My wife was pregnant with our second, so we moved back to Farmington, New Mexico, and my then sister-in-law, she's not my sister-in-law now, but she said, you know what, there's terrible property managers here. You guys should look at opening a management firm and see if that's something you want to do. Kristen had already had a real estate license. She was a real estate paralegal for a large investment firm. And so she kind of understood that. She actually oversaw property managers on like a national level. On a management side. And she's like, ooh, that, property manager, that's a rough job. They're getting yelled at and dealing with maintenance and you know what I mean? But
All the things.
obviously we saw the opportunity in the marketplace and it was right. There was not great property management locally at the time. And I mean the one thing you only had to do to succeed was just answer your phone, you know. But and it's so common still,
I
unfortunately,
hate to
that's
say it. I was gonna say, I hate to say it, things haven't really changed very much since then. Yeah.
yeah. So
So
that was really
how
how
many
we got into management. Yeah.
and how many properties did you get into that small town of Farmingham?
Yeah, so Farmington had we had 620 doors here,
Wow.
all single family, nothing bigger than a fourplex.
So for you guys that are in these big markets and you can't get to those amount of doors, shame on you, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's funny. There's about 45,000 people here in our main metro area, and about 100,000 in all the Tri-City area they call it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you get a pretty good market share, but the reality is that we're not competing against other management companies. We're competing against the do-it-yourselfers.
That's right. So, so you get to a pretty decent size, and you decide, okay, I want to go and become a broker in a different state, and I want to go ahead and create another market. Just real high level. How'd you break into that market? Did you hire people first? Did you just do marketing, or was it enough where you can drive there? Like, what was the reasoning? Or just tell me a little bit about like going to another market.
Yeah, so we did it on a kind of a family basis there. So my sister-in-law, so Kristen's sister, lived in Flagstaff, and she wanted to get into property management. We saw the opportunity there, very similar to Farmington, small town. Yeah, I mean, like people are still printing applications online, or not even online. You got to stop into the office and get the Word document, printed to do an application, that kind of stuff. And so it was fairly easy to break into that. She wasn't terribly business development minded. She's more operational minded. So the business development side was tough from a distance because property management is so relational. And so we struggled a little bit there, but they were high revenue, high profit properties, and it didn't take very many to really do well in Flagstaff.
Okay. So now you're running basically, you got two cities or two markets, and your team says, "Hey, you guys are basically creating problems for us. Like, just go away." Now, tell me, because that is really the dream of lots of property managers, where the business can operate. I always say a definition of a business is a profitable enterprise that runs and grows without you. So, what are
Otherwise, it's kind of a liability, right?
otherwise the liability? So, give me like one or two things that you implemented that was allowed you to kind of exit stage left. And we're going to talk more about what you're doing today and how you're helping people get there. But just give us kind of a high level of one or two things that you did that you're like, yeah, that was really paramount in us being able to, you know, basically exit the business.
Yeah, I would say number one is the people. You have to have exceptional people that care on a very high level. And how do we get to that? Well, that starts with the company culture, and then it goes into a hiring practice.
Why are you giving thumbs down on the video? On the video, he's giving a bunch of thumbs down, but
I'm not even moving. So anyway, if you're
but
watching
these are
on
thumbs
YouTube,
ups because I agree everything what you're saying here. So you basically hired the right people, you put them in the right seats, and then how did you get them rowing in the right direction?
yeah, you have to have a vision alignment, if you will. So obviously we had core values and a vision, and then we obviously had a 1 year, a 3 year, and a 5 year target. And we were always pushing towards that direction. So when we say we stepped away, like working 1 or 2 hours a week is what the reality was. And in that work of 1 or 2 hours is can we focus on making sure the team is rowing in the right direction? We're still growing and we're still profitable. It's not me getting in the weeds. It's not me answering owner phone calls or dealing with a maintenance item. Those are the things that are working in instead of on. So it was a purely on working on the business.
Basically focusing on team and vision and
Exactly.
strategy.
Yeah,
Now, you
exactly.
did this before Lead Simple, Apply, and all these automation that came out. Isn't that correct?
Yeah. I mean, processes were a major component to this. So in order to, in order to have the people function, if you will, or that people asset aspect of the business, you got to have the processes and the policies that your staff follows. And when we did it, we first put it all into processes in Google Documents,
Right.
Google spreadsheets. You know what I mean? And then it evolved into, I think, our first legitimate software on the process side was Process Street.
Okay.
And then it went to Lead Simple in time, so it was an evolution.
Yeah, but I guess the main takeaway is you were able to step away having processes that they were there was very little automation, but you were still able to step away because you had those documented process. And so for those of you that are like analysis paralysis, I need to get into Lead Simple, I need to get into Apply, I need to have this automation. You actually don't at first. You just
Yeah,
need to know exactly what your processes are and find the people that can follow them and then make them better.
yeah, and I would actually, I'm of the mindset it absolutely doesn't matter what the platform is, so long as what you're doing is utilized.
How many times you buy software and you don't use it, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, we all do it, right? And then you get this monthly fee, and it serves no purpose. It's really a sunk cost.
All right, so now let's fast forward. The team gives you that kind of like, hey, you're just causing more challenges. So just do your 1 to 2 hours and be the cheerleader for us. So I know you personally, and I know you're entrepreneurial, and I know you get bored and you're just a visionary guy. So is that when you said, hey, let's start creating a national brand? Is that kind of what your thought was? Was that the original vision, or like when you first started, or
No.
kind of tell me about like your vision, how it started, and like now it's like now I want to go national, like.
Yeah, it's funny how it
We're gonna go
also
run
evolved.
through we're all gonna run through the door together, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly. I remember like when we first started the management company, I remember Chris and I having this conversation. If we could just get to 100 doors, it'll provide a good living. It's not going to be mountain moving, but it'll provide a good living and we'll be happy, right? It's fine. It's a good place to raise a family. Well, we got bored with that. Like, no, because I think that we're put, look, here, this is the way I put it. If you don't live a if you want to live um a lifestyle with what would you say? If you want to live a lifestyle that has intention, and if you don't live a lifestyle with intention, then you'll live a lifestyle with default. So things are just going to happen. So if I just went to 100 doors, then I don't think I'm focusing on the right. Let's see what we can actually build this thing to. And so it morphed pretty quick. All right, now there's no limit. Let's see how big we could get it into this marketplace. We get to 620, and we felt like we were probably at the max of our market share. And we probably settled at that at a year and a half, 2 years. You know what I mean? And then it would became the focus of like, how do we just work on this business and not work in it at all? And then, we meet Tony Klein from NARPM and through NARPM. And I was like, hey Tony, hey, you want to go ride side by sides in Moab, Utah, and just have a good time for the weekend and cut it up. And I had two razors at the time, so I was like, I'll bring both of them up. You could drive one, I'll drive one. We'll just have a good old time, right? And I remember his wife came, Pam, and Kristen was there, and we're driving in after a long day at nighttime to go eat in Moab. And I was like, hey Tony, wouldn't it be cool if all the guys in our mastermind decided to form a national brand? And originally it was like, how do we pull all those resources where we can, have the best practices everywhere and make a stellar company. And then it morphed into, why don't we just merge? Why don't we actually just do a national brand where we do acquisitions and grow it and scale it up? And that's kind of how that morphed into a bigger vision, if you will. And then when it was Home Vault, I was a CEO there, and we were hoping to get to thousands and thousands of doors. And I think our highest peak was 1,200. And then it was managing, executive personalities and executive opinions were very tough on which way to take the company. And
it really
so
is difficult for business owners to go into a corporate structure.
Yeah, really hard.
Really hard, and I'm sure it was hard for you, and everybody, people who know my story, it was almost depressing for me. So now you're CEO of Homebolt, and you have all these entrepreneurs that kind of merged in with you, but now they want to run things their own way, I'm guessing, and they have big opinions, and now they feel like they have just as much ownership, even though if I'm doing the math, 1,200 units, and you have 620 in one market and a couple hundred in another market, you're like 60, 70% of the merger.
Yeah, I think it was 77 or 72 or 77% was
All right,
our
so
revenue share, or yeah,
yeah,
profit
okay.
share, if you will.
So that's the vision now, and you got guys to buy in because you're a visionary and you get people to follow you. How long did Home Vault run for,
It was about 2.5. No, I think we hit right at the 3-year mark before we exited.
and
Yeah.
how many markets did you guys end up getting into?
7 markets. Yeah.
7 markets. Okay. And did it just become real difficult with all the personalities? So you guys decided, hey, this probably isn't working out. We can exit and we can probably get a good value for our exit.
Yeah. So, I would say like probably the single motivator, was dysfunction at a board level. And to try and solve like, for instance, I don't know if there's a book called I don't remember. It's written by Patrick Lencioni. It's funny,
Oh,
I can
five
remember.
dysfunctions of a team.
Yeah, Five Dysfunctions of a Team. I can remember his author's name, but not the book name. But anyway, I remember I called a board meeting, and we all flew into Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we hashed out that basically that workbook for like 3 days straight to solve these issues. This was in November before we sold, and a lot of it was solved. Like we got on the same page. We started rowing a little bit better in the right directions, but we still had a high level salary problem. So, trying to provide the financial means for 6 executives is not
on,
easy at
on
1,200.
1,200 units. Yeah.
Yeah, not easy. And we had a very a lean staff, and we were productive, but yeah, it just came
Too
kind
many
of.
chiefs, not enough Indians. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It came to a head that we really needed to change things up at a board level if we're going to do anything positive. And we had already gotten, several offers. There was a few big companies that were reaching out to us at that time. We didn't reach out to anybody, and they're like, "Hey, we're looking to acquire. We'd love to acquire you guys," because I obviously in 7 markets that was a bigger,
Oh yeah,
pop for
that makes
them.
you more valuable for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And so, we entertain those. I mean, I was never going to say no to any of those meetings. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about it. And finally reached one that was satisfactory to the board, and decided I think the best thing for the business and our employees and our clients was to sell at the time.
And what year was that when you guys exited?
So that was what year is it now? 2024, 2021, I believe is when we exited.
21, you exited. So you dealt with all the COVID nonsense.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Woohoo, yee.
Yeah, and then you sold out.
Yeah.
And then did you take a position with the company that purchased you, or did you decide to retire for a little bit? Like I know from talking to you, like you literally could retire if you decided to. So what'd you end up doing after?
Yeah, yeah. So that's a great question. So I spent 8 months as the director of operations and implementation. So on their national merger side, we basically that boiled down to
That's a tough
doing
job.
software conversions and unifying the acquisitions into the same softwares all day, every day. It was miserable.
I
I'd
was gonna
rather
say
put
that
in my
that's a high C in a disc profile, and you're kind of a high I from what I recall. So
yes,
that had to be kind of like fingers on a chalkboard for you. I would love that job personally, but I know
yeah,
as a
you'd
visionary.
be good at it too. And I think I was pretty good at it. Where I had a lot of strengths there is they gave me um, the liberty to build a team. And so I had some high,
Oh, which that's your yeah, you're really good at that.
yeah. So I brought in some great people that had previous experience doing similar things, and was making it happen. But not my ideal job. And essentially, 8 months goes by, and I basically quit rich, if you will. I didn't need the job. The paycheck wasn't important to me, and I hate absolutely hate trading dollars for time. I don't that like gets under my skin. I'm thinking to myself like this is you own, time is so finite that if I'm trading dollars for that, it's just like, oh, it turns my stomach.
Especially if you're not doing something that you just love, right? And I always felt if you're in the wrong seat, you can do a good job for about 6 to 8 months, and then after that, you're just not. It's just not what you're. It's just
Yeah.
not. It's just not what you're good at innately, right? So like for example, like me. I like processes. But if you put me as a salesperson, I can probably do it for a short period of time, and I could probably do it very well for a short period of time. But after about 6 months, it's going to burn me out because every day I'm going to lose energy. It doesn't give me energy. But you give me if you say, hey, let's go create this process, let's whiteboard something out. I can go for 12 hours, man. I still got energy, right? So it's like, so they kind of put this square peg in a round hole. And so you're like, all right, so you decide to punch out after about a year, about 8 months to a year.
8 months, yeah.
8 months. All right. Um, just so you know, I lasted longer than you. I made it 18 months before we decided to part ways. All right. So now you do that. And so now it's around 2022, I'm guessing. What I know you retired for a little bit and now you're coming back and you're creating what are you creating now and how are you helping people now?
Yeah, so I really I took a break and really wanted to kind of
Bought another
refocus.
helicopter. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a couple on order, so but yeah, I really wanted to focus like how can I provide the most value and serve our industry that I do love. I love the property management industry. How do I provide the highest level of value to them as possible? And I really spent months and months really thinking through that. And I guess, I distilled it down to like my own transformation. I look back about 12, 13 years ago and I look at myself and think, crap, I was paycheck to paycheck, poor, a brand new family, the company's not profitable. And then I transitioned to making it profitable, buying a ton of cash flowing assets, not trading time for money anymore. And how do I how do I frame something where I can help fellow property managers go through a similar transition or a transformation in their lives? And so I've really focused on that. Now, does that mean like there's a one size fits all? No, there's not. As a matter of fact, there's so many ways to slice this pie, but the single factors I had distilled it down to is really the money mindset that most of Americans have. We live in the most prosperous world or country in the world, and yet so many are living above their means, living paycheck to paycheck, and that does not exclude property owner or business
Business
owners.
owners.
As a matter of fact, it's no different. Business owners are in the same boat as non-business
I
owners.
would say sometimes it's worse because when you have a W-2 and you do your 401k and you get some health insurance, I know a lot of business owners that don't have any money for retirement and they don't have any health insurance and the business is running them versus them running the business.
100%, 100%. And I always felt like if I'm having to run the business and that's the only source of income I have, and being an aviation guy is like that's a dangerous place to be in. Your old business partner Steve, he knows dang well and good why he has multiple engines on that airplane. He flies long trips, long distances with lots of people's lives, souls on board, what they'd call it in the aviation world. That things are at risk and high stakes. Why do we have multiple engines? Because if one goes out, then we're still flying. If two goes out, we're still flying. You know what I mean? And I wanted to I really shifted my mindset to having a single income was just high risk for my family and a legacy to leave behind and any wealth generation. I just see that in fellow business owners, fellow Americans, if you will, that just it's not a happy place to be for a long period of time, living paycheck to paycheck with always having to trade my labor for money.
Yeah, also, I talked to a lot of people and like 5 years ago they had 150 doors and today they have 150 doors.
Right.
And if you're not growing your business and it's not running without you, You're not adding any more, valuation to your business, right? If you're going from 150 to 300 to 600 to 900, your business is going to be worth more than it is at 900 than it is at 150, right? But if you can't grow yourself, businesses only grow to the ability of the CEO.
Yeah,
And so if I'm a property manager, always been a property manager, and I don't elevate myself to learn how to hire people, to learn how to build processes, to learn how to systemize, um, it's going to be really hard for that person to grow. Yeah.
absolutely. Peter principle to the max, right? We're only as good as our own incompetence. And so, as a business owner, we should be doing whatever it takes to level up. And I love the 1% rule. Like, I want to be 1% progressively better tomorrow than I was today. And I think that has to apply. But I do think we get comfortable, we get complacent, and we accept the status quo, if you will, with our lives, with our business, whatever the case may be.
So what is your new business called today?
Well, it's Independence Capital, and it's really a not necessarily a name thing here, but more of a program. So we take people that are property management company owners who want to have a similar transformation in their lives. Can I go from where I am financially today and go to where I actually want to be? And we lay a framework, a ground, I guess I would call it like a financial framework, step by step, that is going to take you to the mindsets of where you were to where you have to be in order to generate wealth. And then we have several things inside that program, like how do I get the maximum amount of profit for the value that I'm providing for my clients? How do I buy real estate from my clients so when they're ready to sell, I can actually be the solution to that purchase instead of them going to the open market and trying to sell that property to somebody else?
It's a huge
10
advantage that we have that very few of us take advantage of.
Oh, it's so sad. Property management is the gateway drug of great real estate investing. Like we get to see all the intricacies of a property, to see what the
So
maintenance is, the outstanding items are, how the tenants are, get them while it's tenant occupied. You know what I mean? It's just I love buying real estate from clients. And
I
it's
hate, I hate
funny.
to admit this to you, but before I started Empire, I owned 31 homes at the time, and I had bought many more before that in apartment complexes. I built Empire from 2012 to 2019. Guess how many homes I bought in that 7 year period?
Don't tell me zero.
I'm going to tell you zero. When I
Oh, I
sold
like.
the business and I was working for Mind, I ended up buying six properties that year.
Wow.
And
So you bought it with the cash you got from the business. Yeah.
bought it from the cash I got from the business. Yeah. But more importantly, I was starting to look again. And those six properties all came from Mind. It all came from owners that were not happy with their property. And just like you said, I was able to look at the inspection reports. I was able to look at, our past leasing. I was able to look at, what how the owners, what maintenance was done. And I bought those six properties sight unseen because I seen
Yeah.
them. They were in my. I didn't have to go drive there and say, "Oh, the house is still there." I knew the house intimately because we managed it, and so I
Yeah.
was able to buy a great deal. And I'll tell you, I bought a 4 pack that I bought for 535, and the day I bought it, it was valued at 655. So I made $100,000 the day I bought them. Today they're worth over 800,000. I
I
bought them in
love it.
2020.
So awesome. Yeah, and it's so funny. I get people tell me all the time, like, I feel guilty for wanting to buy this house from a client. I don't feel like it's ethical. And I'm like,
Oh, you're helping them.
you are helping them. As a matter of fact, you are the biggest easy button they can have. Why? Because they don't have to go prep that house to go sell. They don't have to kick out a tenant who's already in place. And and they're probably willing to own or finance the stinking thing to get rid of it because they don't want it anymore.
And then
And
what the
so
cash,
many
they
of
get
them.
the cash flow by doing it owner finance. So
That's
they
right.
actually probably make more money selling it to you than they did when they owned it with all the maintenance issues.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So
It's
when you're looking for clients though, let me ask you this, because a lot of stuff that you're talking to me about, I just hear mindset, mindset, mindset. Am I off base there? Like, do you have to have the right mindset to do what you did and to do what you want to do, right? Like if I don't have the right mindset, I don't have a growth mindset, or I have a value that I want to get to in my living experiences, that may not be a good person. Some people like Bart Sturzel, good buddy of mine, out in Austin, Texas, got 300 units, happier than a pig in molasses,
Yep.
right? And so he would not be a good client potentially for you because he's got a level and he's happy with that level. Or is anybody a good client for you? Talk to me a little bit about mindset and what's how that growth that growth mindset is.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is willingness to learn, willingness to gain knowledge, and the willingness to gain wisdom. So I don't care what the door count is. It doesn't matter to me. As a matter of fact, I think you could be extremely profitable at 50 doors, but every door needs to be producing income, right? It needs to be profitable. And I often think that the small portfolio owner, if you will, uh, is really short-sighted in the sense that I just need to keep my rates really cheap and competitive so I can grow bigger. And most of the time, the small operator can be the most value to the client. So therefore, they should be charging more because they do more for the client. Now, I know that's a scarcity mindset to be like, I need to charge more when I only have 50 doors, so I can't do that. I can't charge more, right? That's scarcity. But my point is like the ideal client to me is like we will work on the mindset shifts. Like what's the behaviors and the understandings of the purpose of money. We'll work through that ourselves. Like, let me hit on that a little bit, Pete, because I think
Okay.
it's important. Like there's a purpose of money that people view. So the poor view money as one thing. It's to pay my bills. So I get a paycheck and I need to pay my bills for it. That's what the poor view money as. The middle class, the purpose of money for the middle class is to pay their bills on time so they can maintain their credit, so they can buy crap they can't afford to pay cash for that they think the people around them actually care about. So it's image, right? That's the middle class. And it'll keep them in the middle class because they're always in debt with trinkets, doodads, whatever you want to call it. But the rich, they use their money to make more money, right? So let's give an example. The middle class, I want a new car. So they go down and they go to the credit, the car dealership and they buy it on credit and they negotiate on payment. I can afford that payment, and that's how their lifestyle is. And the worst thing is when they get a pay increase, whether their business starts making more money, or if they get a pay raise at their job, their lifestyle increases with it. So they never really get out of the trap. But the rich, they invest the money and they never touch that dollar that was originally invested, but that original dollar starts making babies. And those babies make babies. But that first dollar is never touched. The babies are the ones that they buy their things. So you said I'm, buying a helicopter. I'm not buying a helicopter on debt. I'm using my investments that cash flow daily to buy the helicopter. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense.
So that's a mindset shift, I think, that is an example of the program. Like this is how you go from being where you are today, stuck in a rut, frustrated to see other property management company owners succeed, to how do I put the pieces together to actually elevate my wealth?
Typically, how long does the program last? Is this like I mean, it's a lifetime, and I get that, but like you have, I'm sure, a start, a middle, and kind of like, okay, now you can kind of do it on your own. Like I taught you the tools. How long does that typically last?
Yeah, so it's 8 weeks, and there are
That's
uh,
it.
yeah. So we lay
I
that entire
think
foundation
you
in
can say
eight.
8 months or 8 years, 8 weeks.
Well,
Wow.
here's the thing is like it's 8 weeks of the content, but it's a lifetime of support. Like
Correct.
we have a community that is private. It's application only. When you get in there, you now get to work with other people that are in the same program as you are, and they probably are going to be in, varied level of stages in their life, but their experience gets to help your experience. My experience helps, everybody out. So we raise all those ships together.
Yeah, and then if you join the program, you get to talk to people who have leveled up, right?
Exactly.
So what's the old saying? You're the average of the 5 people you want to hang out with the most. And so you start hanging out with people who've leveled up, and eventually you're just going to level up. It just happens.
Yeah. Unless those other 5 people suck.
Well, they have leveled up, so hopefully
They leveled up and you didn't.
hopefully they leveled up. Yeah, well, look, I don't hang out with the five guys that I went to grade school with anymore. We've outgrown each other, or we still see each other, but I don't hang out with them anymore. Right now, I hang out with other business owners like yourself, people who are where I want to be. I'll give you a great example. When I wanted to become an Ironman triathlete, I had never done any kind of distance like that. And so who would I start hanging out with? Guys have done multiple Ironman triathlons. They just like doing one was like no big deal. Guys done 5, 10, 20 of them. And all of a sudden, my mindset switched from can I do one to how fast can I complete one? And so I think that's kind of something that you're talking about with the mindset as you go through your program. Can I do this? And it's like, no, now I know I can do this. How further can I take it?
Yeah, exactly. And accelerate it, right? I mean, like these are things that I've learned over the course of 15 years, but it shouldn't have taken me that long. I didn't have a program to go through. You know what I mean? And how do we accelerate this for fellow property management company owners to take their asset, their business, make it extremely profitable, and then to take that money and accelerate it into other cash flowing assets so we have more engines on the airplane than just the one.
I love it. All right, man. I can talk to you all day about this, and this is probably like a four-part NARPM podcast, but we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to put you in the lightning round. I know it sounds spooky.
Let's do it.
All right, we'll be right back, everybody. All right, we're back with Shawn Johnson. Shawn, we're going to put you in the lightning round. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All
I
right,
hope.
so let's make believe. Let's put your property manager hat back on. And what PM software did you use?
Originally started at Appfolio and then it went to Rentvine. Whoop whoop. That's the best out there.
As the- What was your organizational structure when you had just the two cities, the two
Yeah, so it originally started as portfolio based, and then it went to departmental, and then we shifted to hybrid, and we found that that was the best method for our structure.
Give me an example of hybrid.
Yeah,
So you have
so
some portfolio and an accounting. So give me an example of that.
yep. Accounting was all back office, so that's more of a port or a departmental mindset. But we would have, we wanted the owner relationships. That was important. So our property managers would manage the relationships really, and then I think maintenance was. Let me, if I remember right, maintenance was departmentalized, and accounting was departmentalized, and everything else was basically portfolio based
Got it.
in a pod structure. Yeah.
Yep, sounds about right. Do you use virtual assistants?
Oh, every chance I can get.
Mhm. Did you have BDMs or were you the BDM?
Yep, we did have BDMs. Still feel like that's the toughest position to hire in property management. But yeah, we did have BDMs.
What's one piece of advice you'd give someone just starting out in the PM business?
Know your value. You are only worth what you think you are worth. So if you provide a high level value to a client and you don't charge for it, then you think that value is worth nothing. So I would say know your value.
Uh, Wise words. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Um, I don't want divorced, so I'm going to say yes.
All right. What's your fast food go-to?
I absolutely despise fast food, but if I'm going to have to eat fast food, uh, Firehouse.
Subs. All right. What's
Cubs.
your first job?
First job, ooh, Sears and Roebuck Men's Department. That was the first official one anyway.
You know you're old when your first job is Sears. I don't even think the younger audience even knows what Sears is.
Yeah, what is Sears?
If you could have dinner with anyone alive, who would it be?
Cody Sanchez.
Who's that?
She's a social media influencer, and her niche in that space is buying mom and pop, run of the mill, boring businesses and buying lots of them.
Interesting. I love it.
I love it. Yeah.
What's a book you would recommend?
Ooh, man, that is a tough one. I am an avid business book reader. Probably the one the top of the mind is The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham.
I love him. He's the best.
Oh man, I read that probably 8 times and took thorough notebooks of notes.
I got to see him live, man. He's a great presenter as well.
Now
Uh,
go think. You'll thank me later.
what Disney character do you most associate with?
Well, now that Marvel is Disney,
You can do.
I would say I'm most intrigued with Iron Man. I love the
I
high
was gonna
level.
put I was gonna put you at Tony Stark. I was gonna say,
Yeah, yeah, that visionary thinking and very techie.
yeah.
I love that stuff. Yeah.
All right. Cats or dogs? Which one do you prefer?
Uh, Sometimes neither, but if I have to choose, I like dogs.
All right, man, you're off the lightning round. Sean,
Woo,
how
that
how
wasn't so
can
bad.
not bad at all. How can people can contact you?
Man, you could go to my website, which is ShawnAustinJohnson.com, which is SHAWN, the correct way to spell Sean. Got to have those spiky opinions. Or my email is Sean@ICPMRentSmart.com.
Give me that one more time. Sean.
Independence Capital. So ICPM, so Independence Capital Property Management, RentSmart.com.
Nice. And if
Yep.
you listen to this and you have not joined NARPM yet, shame on you. Call them 800-732-3452. And every time I say this, I have to like put my glasses on and I lied. It's 800-782-3452. I need to make this font bigger.
That boy.
Writing
Yeah.
it. Or make it easy. Go to NARPM, NARPM.org. And if you are in the market looking for help, remote team, go to vpmsolutions.com, and you can access I think we have over 40,000 profiles looking to work in the real estate industry. We have free training that's industry specific training. We even have Rentvine training now on the platform, and we got some Appfolio training on the platform just dropped today as we're recording this. All right, Sean, thanks so much for being here. All right, everybody, we'll see you next time.